Hey everyone, Stacks here. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm checking out House of X number 3 by Jonathan Hickman and art by Pepe Larraz. And right now Jonathan Hickman is doing such a good job of writing for the serials. He's writing for comic book readers, not trade paperback readers. He leaves you at those cliffhangers where you're going to talk about it, you're going to discuss it, and this issue is absolutely no different. And in House of X number 3, we are with Cyclops as he gets his team together and they begin their mission to go take out the Mother Mold. And that's where we start. Cyclops is stepping in the room telling Professor X and Magneto, look, it's done, I've got my team together. They know it's a suicide mission, they understand it's a suicide mission, and they embrace it. And as Scott stands in the doorway, Professor X looks at him and says, such a brave face you're wearing for me. But I can hear the fear in your mind, Scott. And Cyclops doesn't miss a beat. And so Cyclops asks, is it wrong that I'm afraid that I have doubts? And Professor X reassures him, of course not. You've always been that way. What matters is that you always overcome and you do so for your family. Then Professor X tells him he's proud of him, and then he tells him, look, put your fears to rest. You're not going to die. I won't allow it. Then Magneto pops in telling him, for the righteous can never truly die. They live on, transformed into something immortal. For you to die, you'd have to be forgotten. And no one forgets the founder of a nation. From there, Cyclops steps out, starts talking to the team, giving the 30,000 foot battle plan for how exactly they're going to take out this Mother Mold. And giving you a quick look at the team, you got Cyclops, of course, Wolverine, Magic, Angel, Monet, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, and Mystique. And I definitely want to hear what you have to say about the assembled team down in the comments below. So Cyclops gives them the why this is so important, and they think it ties to Nimrod coming online. But he also has to tell them that no Krakoan fauna is going to be going with them on the mission, so there is no return portal. Both the breach and extraction are going to have to be done the good old-fashioned way. And the fact that they're not basically bringing a life vest, they don't have that easy extraction route through the fauna, makes both Angel and Magic kind of raise an eyebrow and say, what's going on here? Why? And Monet pops in and says, look, because you guys are thinking of it in terms of success rather than planning for failure. What if the mother old AI got a hold of one of the fauna and got a hard look at what we're doing here on Krakoa, and what would that cause? What issues could arise from that? And Cyclops says, exactly. And then he feels it necessary to say, are you listening, Mystique? And Mystique just replies, my ears work fine, Summers. And with that, they board the ship and they take off, and you get this shot realizing they're not on Earth, they're actually on the moon. Now at this point there are several white pages. I'll go into them in more detail at the end, but I'm going to hit the highlights so we can get on with the story for now. The first thing is that when Mystique, Toad, and Sabretooth broke into a facility earlier and ended up face to face with the Fantastic Four, it's because they were stealing plans for Soulhammer, which is Orcus's forge. And while Mystique and Toad escaped that encounter with the Fantastic Four, Sabretooth did not. Hence, enter Project Achilles. Project Achilles is basically a super maximum security prison for superhumans. The one little difference on this super maximum security prison is that it basically has its own court system within it to where it can administer justice. And of all places, that's where we find Sabretooth, is in a courtroom. And Sabretooth is standing there in front of the judge, and man, he's not even fazed. He just got a big smile on his face. He's saying, yeah, I did it. And it's not gonna matter. Ain't no place ever been built that can hold me. And if I'm being honest, it ain't like I'm gonna sit here and let you judge me. Cause you think for 1 minute these chains can keep me from making your insides your outsides? Cause let me tell you, they can't. And he stops and he sniffs the air. Says, hey, you smell that? Jasmine. And his lawyer under the desk is like, well, what's that mean? Means you're fired, counselor. And in walks Emma Frost. An interesting clue that we'll have to unpackage at the end is who is actually with her. And what I'm talking about is that her daughters that are with her? Because if it is, it gives us a big clue as to which Marvel universe we're in right now. And what Emma Frost does is she walks in and she point blank tells them that because of your recent gift from your State Department, we have diplomatic immunity for those citizens of Krakoa. The Attorney General here is just saying, look, this isn't going to happen. And Emma Frost, just sitting there looking at her nails casually, said, oh, it's going to happen. And what this means, it simply means we don't answer to you anymore. Is Sabretooth a monster? Yes, but he's our monster, and we will not be judged in human courts by the likes of you. Well, the AG says she ain't having it, and she draws down on Emma Frost. But the White Queen, as cool as a cucumber, looks her in the eyes and says, normally I'd dominate that little mind of yours, but I've been told that diplomacy is about equalizing power dynamics. So why don't you pretend that some larger American purpose is being served here today, and I'll pretend like you could have stopped me. And from there, the mutants turn around and they just walk out. From there, we jump back to the Orcus Forge, where Dr. McGregor and Omega are walking and they're discussing where the mother mold is in the current reboot or startup process. Now, they hit on a couple points here. First of all, there is a protocol to basically, if this thing loses it, they can eject it right into the sun and destroy it. The other thing is they're trying to wait till it's far enough in the process to start it up that the AI has passed the Heller-Faust line, which the Heller-Faust line is basically the installation of a morality, from what I can gather. And obviously that's important because if its protocol is to eliminate all mutants, well, you don't want it to, in a non-moralistic way, just to say, well, if I eliminate all life on Earth, I have therefore eliminated all mutants, therefore program executed. Anyways, they're continuing the discussion where suddenly all kinds of alarms start going off in the base. And what they realize is they have incoming, and there's no way they can really stop it because the X-Men have showed up and they're in a Shi'ar space cruiser, and they can't stop it. All their defenses are basically wasted on trying to stop them. And the whole base immediately goes into semi-freak out mode. The doctor is basically saying, look, how did they know? Somebody had to be listening. There's no way they could have known we were doing this. And then Omega says, why don't you go ahead and recall the drones from Mercury to defend the station? And that's already been done, and you get a shot of all these basically what looks like construction equipment sentinels that are on their way to help to defend the base. Back outside the ship, just because you can't stop something doesn't mean you don't have to try. And the space station is opening up fire as the X-Men approach. They easily dodge the anti-aircraft fire, and as they get close, Wolverine tells Kurt to go recon. And Kurt pops right into the middle of the station. It happens to be right by Dr. Gregor and Omega. Well, Nightcrawler immediately identifies Omega and says, hey, picking sides, are we? And she replies, actually, that was y'all, wasn't it? And as they radio to the defense team that, hey, we got Nightcrawler on board, here's what his power set is, Omega kind of pauses and is like, that's disappointing. It's a very linear plan for a very non-linear foe. Then suddenly there's this huge rumble on the ship. Back outside the ship, you realize that the X-Men have attached a breaching collar to the outside of the Orcus base and are about to conduct a breach. As they begin the breach, you notice that the leader of the defense team is right underneath where they're coming in. And the first thing he does is he seals the area. He makes sure it's airtight. And he's realizing at this point when nobody else probably is, and that's, they have a good plan. They're accessing the ship at a point where they can access everything. He realizes and is pretty sure that they have a copy of the plans and that they've planned this thing, this whole operation to perfection. And while he's sitting there talking to his wife, he tells her, so our only real hope is to respond asymmetrically, irrationally even. And over the radio, she asks him, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And looking down as he's rigging this bomb, he says, oh, whatever it takes to build a better world. And you know, I joked about it a lot, but I really do wish we had kids. And she realizes what he's doing and she screams, no! He just says, be strong, love. Don't let them win. And he hits the detonator. And outside, the entire ship, the entire X-Men ship, the base itself just detonates a whole section of it. And this issue ends with us having no idea what just happened to our strike team. Did he just manage to take out the team? Did they insert at a different location? And this is just them lowering the breaching collar as a distraction in order to draw attention to that location while they get in somewhere else. I don't know, but once again, Jonathan Hickman has left us on the edge of our seats with this stuff. So our quick check on learning and everything that we did learn during this issue. And we're going to start by looking at some of the white pages. So on the first page, it starts by basically saying that Nimrod is an end state, that despite the fact that AI is unavoidable, an anti-mutant Nimrod is not unavoidable. It was manufactured with an intent and manufactured with a purpose. And ultimately, that threat and purpose is the primal threat, it's the primary threat to the long-term survival of all mutants. Based on the file that Apocalypse was able to provide, we also find out that Nimrod and the development of Nimrod is completely dependent on certain technology thresholds being reached. And that level of technology all seems to be in conjunction with or resulting from the mother mold. So after Wolverine killed Moira in Powers of X3 and she reincarnated, her and Charles Xavier, they set the task to several mutants to set up what they're calling the Sleeping Giant. And just like the government set in place these thresholds for mutants, and in order to activate the mother mold and go start operations there, I said the government, I should have said Orcus set those protocols. Just like Orcus has its set of protocols, this sleeping giant has protocols in it where they are effectively countering Nimrod, and they're monitoring the Nimrod creation. It's at this point where they detail that it is the Soul's hammer that Sabretooth, Toad, and Mystique stole earlier back in House of X #1. On another white paper, we have the Sentinel to Nimrod progression chart. And basically, we start at Sentinel, which is a non-sentient mutant hunting robot, goes to a master mold, which is a replicating adaptive Sentinel factory that basically builds other Sentinels. The mother mold is not only replicating and adaptive, it's also capable of advancing past its ultimate Sentinel state. It can go into nano Sentinel technology. And then finally you have the Omega Sentinel, which is a human infected with the nano Sentinel technology that slowly over time becomes a machine. There's a whole white page showing how that process as far as becoming the Omega Sentinel goes. I honestly found it less than interesting though. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. Are the Summer Frost twins showing up in this? Is that a significant clue as to which universe we're in? Did this one man's action completely throw off this timeline? And if this is the 10th timeline, are we going to have to take it to the 11th for Moira? Per my friend the doctor on Twitter, at ScienceJesus, should they have just taken Magneto with them and tossed this whole base into the sun? Or going with some X-Men continuity, couldn't he have just thrown it in the sun from his Barca launcher? Guys, I definitely want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed the video, hey, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Either one of those guys, if you do it, it's like leaving a tip for the guy making the video. Also, if you can, share it on social media, guys. It helps me get the word out there. It helps me grow the channel, and I appreciate that. For anyone that's interested, you can follow me on Twitter at comic_stacks. Hopefully I'll see you there. Just hit me up. Have a good one, guys. Real Comic Stacks out.